Hi guys, it's Emily from Novell Novels and welcome to today's video. This is the end of year book tag. Now I know I am late in the game doing this. It's going up in November. I should have done it in October or even September. But since when do I do it on time? Since when do I ever thingy on time? So some of these questions are actually really hard to answer because some of them, well, you know, it's a bit late in the game to do them. But there is the last prompt that I can really go into a few sneaky peeks for the year ahead, for 2025, some bits that you can hear about and get excited about. What I do love about this tag is that it's a good way of wrapping up the year, of the way you want to wrap up the year, the kind of end of year plans. And I've got a few, like I said, it is a bit late in the game, aren't I? A bit awful for doing this, but let's have a look. So the prompts are the same every year. I might actually write them in this time around because I did go on to Charlotte from Coiny Reads' video to remind myself of the prompts, but they're the same every year. This tag's been going along so long that I can't actually remember who created it. But here we go. I am filming this on the 23rd of October. So again, some of these prompts are a little bit, well, some of them you'll see connections to my November TBR, because obviously some of them I had to answer in November, but we'll go there in a bit. So, prompt number 1. Are there any books that you started this year that you need to finish? No, I never do that. I never start a book and make it last all year. That would kill me to have a book that I didn't finish. I've got a lot of books I DNF, but normally with me, once I've DNF'd them, I don't go back to them. There is a book that I DNF'd, The Seven Moons of Marley Almeida. I was supposed to read that around about when Alice died, and I couldn't. It was literally around about that time, and I couldn't read it. So technically, that is one of the only books I've DNF'd, and I'm going to go back to next year. But I still don't feel ready to read that about death. I still struggle to read about death at the moment, and it's still too raw. It's not right. So I will go back. I will read that book next year, but it will be hopefully when things start to settle down and my mental health improves, because I'm still not ready for it. Do you have an autumnal book to transition you to the end of the year? Kind of been doing, I do my seasonal books, so I have already been doing 2 autumnal books, but there are 2 that are from my November TBR. I don't know whether I would have read them yet. I don't know whether I would have read them by the time this video goes live. I don't think, but you would have seen them on November TBR. But this feels autumnal, and that's The Skeleton Key by Erin Kelly. Look at that dark, autumn, the roses and the leaves, and I don't know, it looks all dark and autumnal. This does look all dark and autumnal to me. I still don't know if it's dark academia, and I'm still not sure. I'm still worried if I'm going to like it or not. It looks big, but it's actually not even 500 pages. But I swear Kirsten read it, or someone I know like that read it. I think Kirsten read it, I'm not sure. Right, so one book, 50 years ago, Frank Churchill wrote the book that would make his family's fortune and ruin their lives. The Golden Bones was written as a fairy tale and a treasure map, but it quickly turned into a dangerous obsession for a cult of readers, desperate to find the final piece in the puzzle. One family divided, the Churchills were torn apart by the fame it brought them, and after a terrifying attack, Frank's daughter Nell becomes a recluse. With one deadly reunion, the family reunited for the publication. I have no idea what this book is about, whether it's historical fiction or whether this bit set in the 1990s. I really do not know. Or it's a bit set in 1976, so you've got some mix of historical fiction, but it looks very dark and autumnal. So that one will be read in November. The other book is a witchy book, which will probably be read relatively at the start of this week, but I'm not going to read it right at the start because I want the witchy stuff to go on a little bit longer. I think I could push it a bit more into November, because I'm starting the month with my book buddy read with Kat, which is the pumpkin spice book cafe book thingy. So I kind of like reading these autumnal books over the course, and it's one of the most beautiful books I own. It's purple, which is my favourite colour. It's got it just looks gorgeous, and it looks autumnal. It's witchy, which I love witchy books. They seem to be really getting my jam at the moment, really making me happy. And Kat bought me this for my birthday this year. About Essie Windscale, who lives in a huge and ever-changing house in the village of Goodwinter, in the deepest, darkest Essex. She lives with various witches of various ages, including one who's a bit salty about being hanged in the 18th century. Very witchy. It looks a really good laugh. It looks just what I need. It's not too long, and do you know what I love? It's like a floppy page book, but yeah, it's autumnal, and it gives me the 5s for. I don't think this. This will be read relatively at the start of the month. So prompt number 3: is there a new release you're still waiting for? Again, there are not many books that are coming out in like December. A lot of them come out in October. I don't think there are any in October that I know about. There is a couple that are going from hardback to paperback, which I'm still tempted. There's like a Jenny Colgan one, which is related to Christmas Bookshop, and I know that I'll get that because I've got the Christmas Bookshop and I like that one and I want the sequel, but I wanted to wait until it comes in paperback, even though the first one's in hardback. I didn't think that logically, did I? But anyway, that one's coming into paperback, the new Jenny Colgan book. But the book that is going to be out the day after I film this, but before this video goes live, but I wouldn't have read it yet, so that kind of why it counts, is a Christmas Wish at Woolworths, and it's the last book that Elaine Everest ever wrote, which is making me gulp, so I will be saving that for December or January. I think I'll save it for either December or January, because I've got a lot of Christmas books. I read Christmas books all of December, but I do push some into January. I think realistically I'm going to read it in December and then I think where I've got all of her series, I'm thinking about doing a bit of a reread. Whether I reread the whole of the Woolworths Girls series one after another, or how I do with that I'm still not sure, but I am very tempted to read the whole series again. But I'm also aware that it might make me cry because she was a lovely author and to lose her was really sad. So that is one, and I think, like I said, recent release that I've not read yet is Heidi Swain's latest book, which is Home for Christmas. That will be read at Christmas. So again, it's a new release, but I'll be saving it for December. So, you know, so many people are bringing out Christmas books. I think I've got another like Kathy Brownlee one that I bought recently. You would have seen in my book haul. That's getting read in December. So they're Christmas books that are out. But I think the only one I'm not going to rush to, so I'm going to read Kathy Brownlee's one but that Kathy Brownlee one won't actually be read till January because it's the 3rd in the series and I've decided to reread the series first. So I'm going to be reading the first book in the series at the second half of November, the second one in December, and then the third one in January. So, like I said, I make Christmas last a bit longer. These are kind of my relatively rambling answers. What are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? So I kind of looked at books that I've had for a while, or books that I got this year and wanted to read straight away. One of these will be read in the second half of November, so it will go on to November Wrap-Up Part 1, and you'll see why in a bit. And the other 2 will be read in December, so you're kind of getting sneaky peeks of my December TBR. So this one will be read, I'm still trying to decide whether I read this in the second half of November or in December. So you're going to kind of get an idea. And this is You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Craigie and Maisie. I bought this on the last BookTube meetup because I know Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe raved about it. I know that I've heard so many positive things about this book and I've got such a beautiful copy. Bea is about to be given the chance to escape the city's blistering heat for a dream desert island. Poolside cocktails, beach sunsets and elaborate meals. But as the sun goes down on her old life, our heroine might also be ready to open up her heart to someone new. The only problem is she's falling for a man she can't actually have. I'm really looking forward to this book, but I'm aware that it might be, I don't know if it'll be emotional or whatever. Don't know what it's going to be like, but the fact that Olivia liked it. I will see, I think in all honesty, it's either going to be this one or the other one that I'm going to show you that will be read in either November or thingy. But I was worried that the books I add to the November TBR halfway through the month, I worry people aren't going to look at my wrap-up part 1. So I worry about putting that on that TBR, not on my normal TBR, but you're getting a sneaky peek. It'll either get read in the second half of November or December. Then the other option that will either be November or December, depending on my mood, is The Flight of the Falcon by Daphne du Maurier. The reason why I want to read this before the end of the year is because it was the last buddy read I had planned to read with Alice. Me and Charlie were both going to read this book with Alice. I've got a lot of Daphne du Maurier's that I bought this last year, but since she died, I've not been able to touch it. It's funny, I'm doing the Agatha Alice project, but I can't touch. I've found it really hard to think about reading this. I don't know if Charlie feels ready to or not, so she might not join me. there was a few of us that were going to be reading this together with her, and I want to do it in honour of her, because I know she did love Daphne du Maurier, and I know this was going to be a great buddy read, because we buddy read other books with Daphne du Maurier together. But yeah, I think I've been putting it off, and I think I need something to make me read it. So it'll either be at the end of November or the start of December, depending on how I feel. I felt as the phantom would, returning to death, returning after death, flipping heck. The indifferent building slumbered. Suddenly the Campanile by Dumas tolled out by the hour. Almino Fabio leads a pleasant if humdrum life, until he becomes circumstantially involved with the murder of an old peasant woman in Rome. The woman he gradually learns, it was his family's beloved servant many years ago, in his native town of Ruffano. Over 500 years before, the sinister Duke Claudio, known as the Falcon, lived his twisted, brutal life, preying on the people of Ruffano. Now in the 20th century town, this town seems to have forgotten its violent history. But have things changed? The parallels between the past and present begin to converge in this masterpiece of haunting atmosphere and hypnotic suspense. It's a beautiful copy. Let's see when I read it. It'll either be, like I said, either be November or December. And then last but not least, the book that makes me joyous, and that's the last in this series, the Wolf Den trilogy, The Temple of Fortuna. I bought this as soon as I came out. I want to finish the series this year, so I'm going to read it this year. It's also going to be reading The Year on a High. So this will definitely be December, and it's the third in the series, so I don't want to go into too much details, because if you haven't read the first and second, it will be about. But it's about Amara, and she's caught up in the political screaming of the Imperial Palace. And yet her daughter remains incomparable. I won't go into more. And this is very much the third. It's going to bring it all together. I love Elodie Harper's work. I've heard, like I said, she is bringing out a third, but another book from the start in a different series next year. But it's going to be coming out in hardback. Whether I get it in hardback or whether I wait for it to be in paperback like the rest of the series, the rest of our other books, I don't know. But I love Elodie Harper's books. I love The Wolf Den, didn't expect to love it. I did enjoy The House with the Golden Door, but it did have second book syndrome. So I'm hoping the third is really good. I think Charlotte's read it and thought it was great. So let's have a look. Right, number 5. Is there a book that you think could shock you and become your favourite book of the year? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I've got one book that I'm going to show you, but The Temple of Fortuna, for me, like, series books never count as a favourite of the year, even if they're really good, because I do that separately. I might do a sort of series favourites or something like favourite series at the end of the year or like January. But for me, I don't know whether my ratings have changed. Like, I did that ratings video. I don't know whether that's changed this year or whether I'm just getting tougher on my 5 stars. But I'm certainly, like, in November, I don't know when this video goes live. In October, I've hardly had any 5 stars. I've hardly had any books that have really jumped out and amazed me, because I think at the start of the year I read so many great books. But again, even those great books, there's not many that are standing out as favourites. I already know my absolute favourite. That's still the same from the first half. Katie's books are obviously going to be in that favourites. But my book, you'll know, like, my favourite of the year is the book that, like, was the book won the Women's Prize, and that was literally one of the best books. So I don't know if anything could beat that, but I do know that I've got an author that has her other book, The Four Winds, was one of my favourite books a couple of years ago, and I'm reading this in December because you all voted for it, and that's The Women by Kristen Hanna. This was a book that was gifted to me by the lovely Ange from Angie's Book Chatter for my birthday. It is one of the most stunning books you can ever see. Kristen Hanna writes great, and I've heard lots of positive things. So it is about the women can be heroes. When 20-year-old nursing student Francis Frankie McGrath hears these unexpected words, it's a revelation. Raised on a Californian idyllic Colorado island and sheltered from by her conservative parents, she's already prided herself on doing the right thing by being a good girl. But in 1965, the world is changing, and she suddenly imagines a very different path for her life. When her brother ships out to Vietnam, she impulsively joins the Army Nurse Corps and follows his path. About Vietnam, about women that are strong. It is potentially a great book, and this could potentially win. This could potentially be my favourite book of the year, but I wonder if it'll beat it. I do wonder. I'm not entirely. I don't know. I'm hoping some of these books just like jump out at me. I'm hoping I get more 5 stars. I don't know if, like I said, I just don't know if it's that I'm getting harder on what I rate 5 stars, because to me a 5 star's got to be a book I want to keep and reread. If it's not doing that, and because bear in mind how much room I've got on my shelves, or how little, that's going on to the next prompt I'll tell you in a minute. I need to really make sure that a book really is that good to get 5 stars now. So I definitely think I'm getting tougher on that. Charlie, you'd be proud of me. But anyway, last prompt is, have you started making plans for 2025? So yes, going on from that, I am going to be doing a reread. So you've got some videos coming up. I won't tell you what books are going to be on there, so you'll still get some exciting videos coming up in December. So in December, you're going to see, I've got my TBR jar. You've already, so there'll be 12 books going into that. You've already seen my classics for 2025. I'm going to be doing a rereads. So I'm going to be rereading a book a month. So it was going to be 6 contemporary and 6 historical fiction, but I have decided to mix some fantasy in. So I think it's going to be 4, 4, and then 4. I'm not sure. It might be a little bit, jiggle it around. It might be 5. No, it'd be 5 and 5 and then 2 fantasy. There you go. I don't want to reread classics, so I've already got that joined in. So it'll be 5 contemporaries, 5 historical fiction, 2 fantasies, and they will get reread 1 a month. When I read one of those, what I reread has got to be a book that is either part of a series, so I need to know if I'm going to want the whole series. There's going to be some Jenny Colgrens in that. That could be a Jenny Colgren. It could be a book that I read ages ago and I want to reread to see if I really want to keep it. It could be anything, but it's not allowed to have already been reread. So I have got some books in mind for that. So that's 2 of the things. You guys all responded to my classics for 2025 video, and you have requested that I do the Bronte thing. So for the first 2 weeks of, either the first 2 weeks, I'm not entirely sure, it might be the second or third. For 2 weeks in March, I'm going to be doing a Bronte readathon. So I will be doing a Bronte themed readathon for my birthday month that year. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing. I'll do that on my own. That's one of the first ones. Like I said in the other book, I'm not going to do the past and future this year. It may come back another time. I was already, excuse me, before we lost Alice, I was already debating whether I did the readathon again, because last year I didn't feel like I gave it my all. I found January quite a bit of a busy and stressful month. And then losing Alice, to know that I wouldn't have her as part of it this year as well, next year, it just was the final nail in the coffin, and I decided that I'm going to be gentle on myself and not do the past and future next year. So, but I'm doing the Bronte, but it'll be just a 2-week easy one. It won't be a big thing next year. I won't even have a bingo board, it will just be very simple. And then I'm going back and doing the Spoonies, obviously, in May, which I'll be hosting with Kat. So they're 2 readathons I'm definitely doing. I'm definitely doing the projects. And we'll wait and see what else happens. I'm not doing the big books thing this year. I'm not rereading classics because I've got new classics to read. So I have got a bit of a mix and match of it all. And you know me, I'm trying to think of the end of the year book tag thing. The emoji if you got to the end of this video. And I'm just trying to think of what end of year thing. Because like, I know, there you go, I've got it. I've got my emoji. I wanted you to do a celebrations emoji because we've got to the end of this year. And what a year it's been. You all know that, like I said, losing Alice this year was tough. We lost Jennifer at the start of the year, who I wasn't close to, but again, it was a booktuber. Losing one of my best friends this year has been hard. My mum's been very poorly. I've been poorly. My other sister's been not, you know, we've had, between me and mum, like the family, it's been a really, really hard year. And I can't wait for 2024 to be gone. I will be celebrating because I've decided that you get rid of a bad year, 2025's got to be better than this. No. Anyway, so if you got to the end of this video, do a celebrations emoji. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, subscribe, ring on my ding-a-ling, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.